You got any big Thanksgiving plans, man?
We're going to Grand Island.
Why?
Play some poker.
Oh,
Erica's family's out there. Yeah, Erica's dad's family.
The poker part sounds fun.
No, it actually.
Grand Island.
Well, it's worth it. I usually break even. There have been a few times where I've really.
Well, I mean, you're not trying to pay your mortgage with the, whatever you win from poker.
No, with the Thanksgiving poker game, I'm not. Yeah, no, it's kind of one of those things where it's like I stake. It's a $2 buy-in. So it's like, huge stake.
Wow.
And then unlimited buyback if you can buy back, but it's a $2. It's nickel. It's a nickel game.
Well, I mean, I don't know how comfortable I'd feel big stack bullying anybody if it's just $2 on the line. That's all I'm trying to say.
I mean, look this way. It's really one of the only times you might just get a chance to big stack bully and not care if you lose.
Did you know that over $5 trillion exchanges hands on a daily basis? That's an average of over $220 billion an hour. Now, how does this much money move every single day, and why does it move the way it does? Here on Drunkenomics, two bartenders who also happen to be students at the University of Nebraska Graduate School of Business are going to sit down and drink to the global economy and try and translate it into English. So sit back, relax, pour yourself a stiff one, and have a drink with us to the comedy that is the global economy.
Welcome back to Drunkenomics. Here we are on Blackout Wednesday, also known as Thanksgiving Eve for those of you overseas. Welcome you back once more as the more gracious host by virtue of the bet and the VIX.
Yes.
And I don't know what else.
I don't remember the vet.
It was QQQ.
Like I said, it's QQQ. I think 370 or something.
I think
like
it was,
that,
yeah. Or 375. I can't remember, but
I don't remember. But whatever it is, it's at 288 now. I wasn't even.
Yeah.
Did I say 370 or 270? Whatever it was, I was way off on that. So
to be fair, I thought you were right. I was like, I'll just take the other side to have a bet in place. Maybe I have to make some sort of in order to be the most gracious host, I have to start, since I'm winning all these bets, I have to start making bets that are really negative to try and either because there's correlation instead of causation. Is my being gracious the cause of the market doing this just to keep me gracious in a way I don't want?
You know what? I've never even thought about that. I never actually looked at the covariance between you being gracious and the markets being bullish. I never even thought about it. I never thought about that.
Now that we've got almost 3 years of data, maybe we'll go back and we'll do it. We'll take a peek.
Yeah. So either way, what was your name again? I forget.
So I am James Goldwater, most gracious host, joined in Chandler, Arizona via the wonderful Drunkenomics Discord. And what's your name? Aaron Wrong?
Aaron Wrong, yes. Let's just say that for now because, I've been wrong so many times the last 3 weeks. Speaking of being right or wrong, thoughts and views on this podcast, on this presentation, do not reflect views of my employers. They just...
Nor mine.
Yes. Yeah, so this is not financial advice. So, yeah.
Absolutely not. No, this is
disclaimer.
Just two guys having a drink, having a chat. If you learn something from it, or if you hear something that we're saying that piques your interest, go ahead and check it out. Read what we're reading. Make your own decision. And if you want to take a position, take that position.
Yeah.
What I will say,
absolutely.
Also, if you want to check out some of the other stuff, some of charts we're looking at, some of the articles we're reading, just kind of some of the banter that we have both with our own in-house Drinkonomists and Econoholics.
Yep.
And then if you want to join that, go ahead and check us out at in the metaverse and on Twitter while supplies last at Drunkenomical, DRUNKENOMICAL.
Yeah, so that's our Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook handle. And then from there, of course, you can always just find the link to our Discord.
Schlep on down to the Discord.
Yeah.
And have a good time.
I haven't heard any rumors about Discord, so I don't really want to float the while supplies last on that one. But
no, but the others, I've looked at stock price, and I'll be honest, let's just knock this one out right quick. Twitter, apparently only a third of the people that worked there at the beginning of the month still work there, approximately.
Yeah.
And all I know is what do you got? I've got a few things that are just funny to me.
I was just going to blurt this in there real quick while you finish your thought. Didn't mean to interrupt you, but what I just wanted to throw in there was, I don't necessarily think, we see all these layoffs by, I threw in the list in the Discord, right? Twitter, Facebook, Snap, Shopify, Netflix, Microsoft.
TikTok's still hiring, apparently.
Yeah,
so there's always
weird,
that.
Right? But we're seeing all these companies lay off people. But for some reason, I don't necessarily think that the Twitter workforce layoff, the furloughing or whatever you want to call it.
It's a layoff. This isn't a furlough. It's a layoff.
Okay. A little column A, a little column B. But I think whatever Twitter is trying to do, I don't necessarily think it's 75 basis points that's causing it. For the other companies,
no,
I think so.
I will say this.
For Twitter,
it is a totally different Federal Reserve bank. It's not the Federal Reserve of United States. This is the Federal Reserve of Elon Musk is causing all their problems. Okay, so
that's my blurb. I just want to throw.
Let's just run through all of Twitter's woes right now.
Yeah.
First off, there's the FTC looking in on it. they had some serious things that from a consent agreement, consent decree with the FTC that they have to comply with by January. And right now, it looks like Twitter was having trouble finding people and staffing up to meet that before this, and now down 4,900 employees. I don't know that it's necessarily going to be protected. This could lead to billions of dollars in fines, or at least millions. Which is problematic.
Well, just think about they had 7,800 people or whatever.
7,500 is kind of the reading I had.
Yeah, prior to Musk taking over.
They go 3,700 right off the bat.
Yeah,
and then
on top of that,
12, at least 1,200 accepted his offer of resignation last week on Thursday.
Yeah.
Which leaves them, like I said, at most with 2,500 employees. The reason we don't know how many people still work at Twitter is because a lot of HR left. Almost the entire, if not the entire payroll department has left. So they'll probably get paid this week. The real question is who's paying them next week? A lot of their U.S. tax planning office has left. And a lot of their financial office is gone, which is really interesting because Elon Musk was trying to turn them into a financial services company to take on PayPal. If you remember, he filed the paperwork to start processing those transactions. It's going to be very difficult to do that without the finance guys there.
Well, so I wonder what his plan is, because is there a succession plan with the guys that are leaving? One, we don't. I don't know yet.
Well, so as I read the succession plans, this is kind of where this is the funniest story I've read about it so far. Is that the succession was essentially they got an email at some point on Tuesday that says you have, or some point on middle of the day Wednesday that says you have 36 hours to make a decision. Either you're down with Twitter 2.0 or you're not. And it said if you are, check this box. Essentially sign this new revised contract, which said. It'll be the hardcore Twitter. It'll be 80-hour work weeks. This, and this. It'll be an investment bank, a Wall Street investment bank.
I had no idea.
80-hour weeks. Yeah. So Wall Street investment bank style stuff. And then he said, if you don't check this box by 5 p.m. Thursday, your resignation is accepted. You'll get 3 months of severance. There's some legal reasons for that. It's because if it's considered a mass layoff or a major layoff, i.e. affecting more than 500 or 1,000 people, depending on which statute you're looking at between state and federal laws, you have to give 60 days notice, right? So you can't just suddenly do that. So that's why he's giving the 2 to 3 month severance, is because he's going to claim, well, our severance covers that, but he's still getting sued for it. But so here's the next thing: is that point on Friday, or that point on Thursday, he has that all hands meeting, as you recall, where he's like, all engineers need to come down to Twitter headquarters in San Francisco, fly in if you have to. If you can't, or blah blah blah. It's like, I need you to call into this conference call. And according to people who were in the meeting, the conference call people were all plugged in, and at 5 o'clock on the money, you could hear people start. And Musk was still talking. People start hanging up. They heard people start just hanging up on the call.
And he was begging them to stay, right?
He was trying to retain a lot of people.
Yeah. Well, I mean, think about to keep the HR department up and running, to keep the payroll department, all that kind of stuff. If you just cut all those jobs, one, you're gonna have to replace them with somebody, because somebody needs to keep Twitter up to date on that, right? You want to make sure that your employees are getting paid. You want to make sure that Twitter's not breaking any laws. So if you cut all those jobs, now you have to replace them at some point, but you can't just replace them and expect them to hit the ground running. They're going to have to come in, learn how the Twitter software systems work, and whatever it is, right? When have you started a job like that, a corporate job that just you automatically know everything about the job day one?
Absolutely right.
It never happens.
It's the institutional knowledge. The institutional knowledge that's gone that's huge.
People that have been working there for 20 years, or maybe Twitter hasn't been around 20 years, but people that have been working there for 6 years,
6 years, 8 years.
Yeah.
Hey, it's like any business you're ever going to work in. There's always that one guy with all this institutional knowledge. There's always those people with all the institutional knowledge, which is there's one critical historical not necessarily allegory, but comparison. It's that in the Second World War in the Pacific, if you were a pilot, a very good pilot, so an ace pilot, or a very experienced, very talented soldier in the Marine Corps or the Army, they would, after you'd been in combat for a while, and they were, this guy's really good. They would rotate you back to the U.S. and have you train the people going out. It was that way of protecting this institutional knowledge, and that's what the U.S. did. And the Japanese did not do that. They kept their pilots on the front line, and so they didn't look. That knowledge was lost.
Yeah. So I mean, the thing is, he's got all these ambitions and goals for Twitter, but the first thing it does is lay off a bunch of people. So I don't know. I mean, everybody thought Twitter was going to shut down last week at some point. It didn't.
I thought
it's not going to shut down.
There were a few World Cup upsets that I assumed would kind of break Twitter between No Beer at the World Cup, which boy, FIFA,
Yeah,
if you're not corrupt, you're incompetent. And honestly, I'd rather you guys were corrupt.
Yeah.
Right? Like I look at like,
Yeah.
oh, why is the World Cup in Qatar? And I'm like, well, there's two options: corruption or incompetence. And I really hope it's corruption, because if they're that rich and they're that incompetent, I'm unhappy with the fact that I'm not that rich, despite being, I'd like to think, slightly competent.
Yeah, I know. Same here.
You know,
Well, but it also depends if you're born on, if
you're born on third base, it's a hell of a lot easier to get home. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Versus if you're born in,
it's that, and I'm not going to sit here and say that like I've had to work for everything I've had, because I know I haven't.
I've had great parents too.
I've been very fortunate in my family, my upbringing.
Yeah.
Whereas I know people who were born on third base and they're like, I hit a triple, and I'm like, you didn't.
Yeah, exactly.
You didn't. And like I'm sitting here like, I was born maybe on first or second base, and I'm like, and at first I was like, no, I'm here on merit, and like for some of it it's true, but it's like,
well, but it's I mean, I feel like that's just kind of like a narrative of the powers that be over in Qatar. It's like,
oh yeah, they were born like wild pitch has occurred. The catcher's drunk and passed out behind home, and they're like 3 steps from home plate. It's not. Yeah,
especially like if you're easy. Like within or like related to or have contact with the royal families out there. It's like
Qatar is a very small nation with a lot of wealth and a very small native population. They have a huge population of migrant workers. Actual Qatari nationals is very small. I think it's less than 1 million. I don't think it's
really.
Yeah, Qatar has a population of 2.6 million, of which only 300,000 plus are citizens.
Gosh, that's tiny.
It's Nebraska.
Wow. Yeah, it's literally it's not even Nebraska. It's Lincoln. It's Lincoln.
It'd be like
Nebraska.
if only the citizens of Lincoln were the citizens of Nebraska.
The state. Exactly.
Yeah, that's kind of a reference we're talking about.
Yeah. Gosh, I can't believe how small that is. But yeah, I mean, while we're in that region, I mean, OPEC Plus. Remember that story? Was it on? I forget what it was. It was on Monday, I think, of this week. So 2 days ago, the eve of Blackout Wednesday. There was a story that somehow got released. I don't know how it got released, but OPEC Plus apparently announced on Monday that they're going to increase production. Did you remember that story?
I don't remember seeing it. I don't personally remember seeing an OPEC.
Well, if you don't remember seeing it, oh, nice. You got the dog on your lap now.
I do.
What a cute dog. Well, I think the reason, if you didn't see the story about the production increase, it's because it was released early Monday morning, and then everybody was like, wait, that just makes no sense that they would do that. I mean, they should do it. Everybody thinks that they should do it, but it makes no sense for OPEC to actually reverse whatever decisions they made a month ago.
Well, especially not at a time when Chinese demand is falling to the floor.
Yeah,
because China's, because I guess in slightly related news, not related, but like major consumer, China has gone back into lockdown after their first COVID deaths, in a year, I think. So they're locking down.
Literally made no progress on that. Yeah.
Yeah. So on top of the fact that they were already showing declining industrial output, now they're locking down in major industrial sectors.
Yeah.
So it wouldn't make sense for them to increase the supply at the same time as decreasing demand.
Yeah, but also like when that story got released, Saudi Arabia, like 4 hours later, like it took forever for them to actually deny the story. But they that story got released by Bloomberg, I think. I forget who exactly put that story out initially, but Saudi Arabia took forever. They let the story ride there for a little bit. They took forever, and then they disabused that headline. They're just like, this is, they're just like, that's not going to happen. I don't know. Like, we're actually, not only are we not going to raise production,
probably going to cut it.
We're probably going to cut it even more. The next meeting, which I think is on the production announcement, is the next one is what, December 4th?
There's a meeting to reaffirm certain decisions. I don't know if it's necessarily a production meeting, but it's more to confirm.
Okay.
It's more to confirm historical decisions to extend like the agreement of participation till next year in December.
Yeah,
it's more of a closing out the year and going. Still good. We still good. Okay, yeah.
Yeah. So maybe they make a decision. Maybe they don't. I mean, I don't really know. But that was just an insanely bizarre story. If you look at all like that intraday chart on Monday, I think. It was just like it opened straight down, like a vertical line straight down from previous close, and then it just kind of flattened there. It stayed there for a little bit, and then as soon as OPEC said, no, that story was fake, that wasn't from an inside source. As a matter of fact, the opposite might be true.
Which makes more sense.
The oil chart just went right back to what it was.
Yeah. It's one of those too good to be trues. The only thing you can think is like the Biden administration has made some statements. They have made some comments where they've said, boy, this behavior isn't inherently in keeping with trying to maintain a good relationship with what we consider to be the United States.
Right.
The current administration. So they have, I imagine they've said in private much more, they said things a lot more loud. But I imagine in public what they've said is essentially, well, we're going to have to reconsider the amount of support in defense spending and other things that we give the Saudis. We're going to have to reconsider our relationship. I think that's true.
Yeah.
It's fair.
Which is
it's not an unfair statement.
No, of course. I mean, and that's what you should. I feel like they should have been saying that longer than they have been saying it. But yeah, like it's very much like a political tug of war. Tug of war. Tug and war. Tug of war. Wow, it's Irish whiskey talking.
Yes.
But yeah, that's what's going on with OPEC. On top of that, other stupid things that's happening that people in charge of the economy are saying is apparently there was some language earlier this week. I don't know who it was. I don't know if it was like a market technician or I don't know, like whatever it is. It was completely irresponsible. But people were saying that that the Fed was thinking about pivoting. A 50 basis point rate hike at the next meeting is probably what's going to happen.
And they sitting here and they're saying like, yeah, I've seen language in minutes that says that is what they're probably going to do. But the thing is, at the same time as they're saying we're going to pivot, they're like, we have not seen a great deal of information to suggest a decrease in inflationary pressure. And it's like, well then why are you pivoting?
Yeah, why?
It's almost like it's 2020 all over again.
This is my thing about, so like, I have two big major conflicts with this. Is one, what the Fed is actually saying. So like, first of all, there are so many different members of the Fed that are either hawkish or dovish, they're on all spots of the spectrum of the hawkish dovish spectrum.
And are they actually speaking as the Fed, or are they speaking as themselves?
Exactly.
As a member of the FOMC.
Yeah, but then the other side of that is so there's the Fed being idiotic, and then there's the markets being equally idiotic, right? So one person on the Fed says something that's dovish, and then the markets react a certain way, and then the next day a hawk will just say the exact opposite of the dove, and then next thing you know, the markets sell off. That's what's been happening.
Yeah, why are you listening to individual members instead of waiting for the actual Fed to say something?
Yeah, but I think the market is also like, they're trying to price in this probability of a 50 basis point rate hike rather than a 75 basis point rate hike. And it really begs the question, what stock are you going to buy? What stock would you be willing to buy if the Fed raises by 50 basis points that you wouldn't buy if the Fed raised by 75 basis points? Seriously, is there a stock out there?
What are you going to run into that's going to perform so much better on that 25% improvement on rate hike? Yeah, that's fair. I mean, it would open up a few more. You'd have to imagine it would open up a few more that would be expected to perform. But
it really doesn't make that much sense to buy something if the Fed only raises by 50 versus 75. That logic really doesn't make that much sense, because at the same time, like, you're still raising interest rates by 50 basis points. So borrowing is still more expensive. Interest expense is going to be higher. That's the logic still. So like, to me, like, I don't understand why like the markets react so bullishly to the possibility that the Fed is only going to raise by 75 basis points.
At this point, it's they want it to be true. They don't want the bull market that ended 2-3 years ago to be over. They want to be at a point where they're like, oh, good, rates are about to start. The increases are going to are gonna and then eventually be, okay, good, we're gonna be heading for decreases soon it'll be it's essentially
so I guess what you're trying to say is like, okay, they're trying to get ahead.
It's a bunch of crack addicts getting really excited that there are fewer cops driving around their neighborhood. That's what it is.
Fair enough. Yeah, so it's I think they're just trying to get ahead of like the actual pivot, right? So
absolutely,
the flattening of interest rate hikes, right? So I think maybe that's why they're optimistic about a 50 basis point rate hike. But
I would say Pollyannic. I wouldn't say optimistic. I would say they're Pollyannic about it.
Pollyannic, yeah. But that's the market side, right? So I'm like, the market reaction doesn't really make sense to me in that aspect, where it's like, okay, there's still quantitative tightening. Remember, like that really hasn't. Like, we haven't really felt the effect of quantitative tightening yet. So,
I don't know what. I think that, they're looking at these interest rate statements. They're looking at the Fed. At the Fed going, that's what's going to dictate. It's interest rates that we have to worry about. And I'm like, no, buddy. I'd be a hell of a lot more worried about when they show up and they go, hey, remember those MBS we bought from you? It's time to buy them back. It's time to buy them back, buddy. Buckle up, buckaroo.
What you got for
Happy
me?
Hanukkah, Merry Christmas, whatever. Happy Kwanzaa. Time to put up or shut up. You guys were real happy 3 years ago when you were selling it to us. Time to buy it back. You always knew this was coming.
Yeah.
It's here, buddy.
But I will say this, at least the parties that are buying back these bonds on the Federal Reserve balance sheet, at least they're buying them back for a discount, because they're low coupon bonds. They've already faced that interest rate risk. But regardless,
well, that's some of the other things I've looked at some of the script out there, and this is just a weird one. Is you see the treasuries hitting 4%, 5%, and now you're starting to see commercial script. So like having to meet or exceed that to try and be to be attractive, to be competitive.
Yeah,
And-
well, I saw a guy on CNBC today talking about credit spreads, right?
oh yeah.
Like, between corporate bonds and government bonds, T-bills and all that kind of stuff. And I'm like, and this guy was like, credit spreads haven't been blown out. I'm like, okay, define blown out. Define a blown out credit spread. Like,
Yeah.
yes, they haven't widened so drastically in previous recessions past, but it's like they're still not very good looking. And the fact is, people are still de-risking. They're still not wanting to buy corporate bonds.
Well,
they're
no,
I
but
think
the
they're
thing
still
is,
widening.
why would you? So right
yeah.
now, like
I think they're still widening. So that's just me. And
let's look at just Twitter in general. Twitter's
it's
debt
awful.
right now
Yeah.
is trading at 60 cents on the dollar. 60 cents on
Jeez.
the dollar. And you're seeing and
so what's
banks
what's the yield on that? Is the
Yeah,
yield like 20%?
I haven't looked yield. I just know that it's trading at 60 cents on the dollar, and you're seeing like
Gosh.
with the amount of that Musk had to lever both himself and Twitter up to make the buy. You're now seeing the banks that made those loans in a new high interest environment, in a new higher interest environment,
Yeah.
in a new pre-recessionary environment. Because like if the recession, I mean, look, we had the recession. It wasn't declared, but it was one by every technical
was
factor. It was
technical,
one.
yes.
It was a weird
Yes.
one. But the thing is, the next one is still coming. Like it's still like
Yeah.
at this point, I think they've said in 2023 it's going to happen.
Yeah,
There will be a recession.
Well, yeah, and Bloomberg even came out with that survey, right? 100% chance of recession. This is the thing. Like, let's just call a duck, right? Let's, this is this is going to be a long, shallow recession, in my opinion.
I think I think it's going to start a little bit deeper.
Yeah.
Because it's always the initial part is always the part that's crazy. But then, I
Yeah.
think it's gonna be like a mile-long walk through ankle-deep water. Like it's just a pain.
Yeah, so it's just going to be like super redundant, but it's not going to be the worst thing that you've ever been through.
It won't be. It won't be soul-crushing. It's just gonna suck.
Yeah, and it's just going to last for a while. It's just going to be like, it's going to be like shoulder pain, right? It's just going to be there for a while, and the next thing you know, it just stops.
It's not acute. It's not acute pain. It's just soreness.
Yeah, it's just
soreness.
It's just sore, and it stays there for a month, and for a month, like cooking eggs or something like that is a little bit inconvenient because it kind of gets that spot on your shoulder, and then next thing you know, like after 6 months, it just stops all of a sudden, right? It's gonna be like that. So to me, it's just like the markets react kind of weird. I think the Fed just like, let's just stop like doing these press conferences. Can we please, like, is there like a way we can vote for that? Like just no more press conferences by Fed governors?
Yeah, I
Just
agree.
done.
I think they should put up and shut up, which is to say put up as the Fed as a single voice, shut up as individuals. We've been saying that for months.
Yeah, so nothing's going to change, but also a 50 basis point, like language of a pivot now makes no sense.
It doesn't. It doesn't.
I've been saying we talked about capital markets reacting to the Fed. I think it's idiotic, which, it's kind of like what Charlie Munger says. If people weren't wrong all the time, we wouldn't be so rich.
Yeah.
So
I mean,
people,
Charlie Munger's not wrong.
capital,
If I was capital markets, I'd be like, yeah, I'll believe it when I see it.
yeah, but
If one of the hawks were to soften their tone, I'd be like, okay, maybe.
yeah.
But the doves being dovish, wow.
No, yeah. So
Wow.
yeah, it's like, so no one has really reversed course. Everybody's still being super stubborn. But like even then, like a 50, like why are you talking about lowering rate hikes? Like why are you, like, if you're actually committed to combating inflation, like you say you are, like everybody says they are, then why 50? Why now, right? Why don't we see at least 2 back-to-back months of CPI cooling down?
Why don't we see inflation actually cooling instead of one bit of good news before you make your pivot?
Yeah. Exactly. So like the day before the next Fed meeting in December, like we'll see CPI. If that comes in below 7.7%, then okay, 50 basis points, I'll accept it. Like then I'll accept it, but I won't love it, right? So it's just okay. At that point, fine. 50, if you want to do 50 basis points, I get it. But
then I understand your data input.
Yeah,
but
don't be surprised if in January, right?
It's
you know where I'm going with this.
Because there's this thing in December called Christmas, where people like to buy stuff.
Exactly.
I don't know.
Speaking of buying things for Christmas, have you seen this? Just, kind of a side note. There's a great website called drunkenomics.myspreadshop.com where you can get a lot of great stuff like black hoodies and black polos.
And the next thing is, if you're in the
t-shirts.
Southern Hemisphere, you could also, you can get the golf gear, you can get the summer gear, you can get, we don't have beach equipment yet, but we're going to. Here's the next one. I have signed the deal as of next week.
Nice.
So won't make the Black Friday sale, unfortunately, folks, but it should be there in time. It should be ready to go by the end of the month in time for Christmas shopping. I will have the new logo stuff up. I will have the new
Nice.
Drunkonomics merch available. I have all the art in.
Nice, dude. I'm so happy to hear that. That's awesome.
Yes. So that is our happy news to you guys for the holiday season is that the new stuff that we have been touting for months will be here. And I'll have it up. We'll have a big launch announcement.
That'd
You'll
be
see
huge.
it. You'll check it out. On the social media, it'll be on all of them.
Dude,
And
that's awesome.
I was gonna say, I also want to sponsor a single Thanksgiving drink for those of you that do or don't know. A Gravy Back is a fantastic drink. For those of you that don't know, don't know what it
remember
is.
that.
It is my
I
official.
remember that last
It's my
year.
personal Thanksgiving drink. It is a shot of wild turkey bourbon, 101 or rye.
It's Thanksgiving,
Up to
do
you.
the rye.
So 101.
the rye.
Exactly. So it's a shot of rye or
Thanksgiving,
bourbon.
come on.
Your call. Chased by a shot of turkey gravy. It is delicious, and
It is
I
actually.
strongly
I
encourage
did do it
everyone
last
to do
year.
it.
It's pretty good.
Um,
and if you do it, tag us in a video. I'd love
Absolutely.
to see it. It'd be fun.
Hashtag gravy back.
Yeah. But if you also want to help James, finance these gravy bag shots and this new deal that he signed on behalf of Drunkonomics, so I guess I'm kind of looped into this somehow. But
He is a little bit.
If you want to help us finance this deal, you can always meet us up at Patreon, patreon.com/Drunkonomics.
Drunkenomics, and you can leave a tip of the tip jar, and you can help us keep on keeping on, keep our ice frozen, our liquor cabinet stocked, and I guess since we're getting into cold weather, you can help us make our hot totties and our, because lemons. We're finally in the season where we're using all of the lemon, not just we use the lemon, all the lemon all the time, but now we can use the lemon slice as a topping in our hot toddy too.
And the actual.
And look, I don't know if you guys know how
Exactly.
expensive cinnamon sticks are, but for a hot cocktail, cinnamon stick is almost
this
always
economy?
necessary. And in this economy, every bit helps. So check out the Patreon. And
Absolutely.
other than that, whatever you're doing
Other
this
than that-
weekend, whether you're on the holiday, and if you are, happy holidays. If you're not, I don't know, have a holiday anyway. Why not?
Yeah.
Friday
Exactly.
at 5 o'clock somewhere,
Yeah,
right?
exactly. So seriously though, on behalf of us, happy Thanksgiving for those that celebrate. We're very thankful for all of you guys drinking along with us.
Absolutely.
I sincerely enjoyed every single drink with all of you guys.
I've enjoyed all. Is this our third Thanksgiving with people? I think as I've enjoyed all 3 of our Thanksgivings together.
Yes, I think it is. I have 2.5 years now. So yeah.
We enjoy being the drunk uncles at your Thanksgiving.
Yeah. Exactly. But yeah, with that said, seriously, continue to play chestnut checkers, fill and kill, don't brag, just say, and most importantly,
Stay drunkonomical, guys.
exactly, cheers.
Cheers.